An adjustment layer is a very powerful tool that you might want to incorporate when you want to add an effect on more than one layer at a time. Now, whenever you apply a special effect on an element in After Effects, that is non-destructive, which means it doesn't ever hurt your footage because you can always hide that effect. So to experiment with the power of adjustment layers, I'd like you guys to go ahead to your Work Files folder and go ahead and import by clicking in this project panel, or right clicking or double clicking or whatever you want to do to open up this option. Import file, and I have mine on my desktop, so let me go to my desktop real fast and go to Everest. There we go. I'll bring that in. I'm going to go ahead and drag this movie right into my layers panel. And what we want to do is we want to add an effect to Everest, but we don't want to just do it on one layer. We want to also do it on our type layer. What is this about type, you say? We haven't talked about type? Well, you can create type in After Effects, and we're going to simply type her name by clicking on the T here. Make sure you have the horizontal type tool selected, and we're going to click one time anywhere in the composite window. And you notice that your cursor is now an I-beam and is now ready to accept text. So go ahead, just type in Everest or whatever you like. And once you're done, all you have to do is click on the selection tool, and then you can go ahead and grab a corner down here, and as you can see, you can scale this text. I'm just grabbing the bottom left right corner and I'm moving it over here. I'm going to put it right there so we get some nice contrast. So as you can see, we have two layers, Everest and the movie. Now what we want to do is we want to apply a special effect that will happen on both of these guys at the same time. To do that, we have to add what's known as an adjustment layer. So I'm going to go to my layer menu and I'm going to choose New. And as you see here, we have something called an adjustment layer. These are also in Photoshop. And on the adjustment layer, we're going to add our special effect. Now what I'm going to do is right click on the adjustment layer, and I'm going to choose something at random. I have no idea what I'm going to do here, so let's see what we'll add here. We'll go to Distort, and let's go to a Magnify. How about that? And we have our Magnify controls, as you see here. And we're not going to really talk about how to use this tool, but what we can do is we can go to the size twirler here, and we can open that up. And look at the difference. We have this really awesome effect magnifying whatever is inside of it. So Everest, her face is magnified, and the bottom of her name is magnified. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the adjustment layer and click on the eyeball to turn it off. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the Everest type layer, I'm going to drag it above the adjustment layer. Then I'm going to go back to the adjustment layer and turn it back on by clicking on the eyeball. See what I'm saying here? Now, instead of having to apply this effect on 30 layers, because an adjustment layer affects whatever lives underneath it, the Everest footage is the only thing that has it applied to it now. And notice that the type is normal at this point. So that's really the rule of thumb that you have to keep in mind. Whatever is under the adjustment layer gets affected. So I can grab this and put it back at the top of the stack, and now it's affecting everything. So that's very cool. We can also add another adjustment layer. Let's say we only want to affect the Everest layer this time with a color correction. So I'm going to right click, or actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go back to the layer menu and I'll add another adjustment layer. This time I'll take this one and drag it just on top of the Everest movie. I'll right click on it. I'll go to Effect. I'll go to Color Correction. And I'm going to go to Equalize. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to twirl this open. And I'm going to just drop that all the way down. As you see here, it just adds a whole bunch of contrast. And you'll notice that it's only affecting her layer. And I'll drag that now on top of everything. And it will affect the text to make it a little bit crisper, and I can go ahead and hide that as well. So as you can see, you can add as many adjustment layers as you want to. Now, the difference between adjustment layers and regular effects is simply just that. Adjustment layers have the ability to have power that goes down, whereas an effect that you add to a singular layer only affects what's on that layer. So if I were to right-click on the Everest movie and add an effect, like let's see, color correction, and I add curves, I'll go ahead and modify her layer by grabbing this curve here, it would only apply to her layer. No matter what I drag underneath that layer, those curves will not affect it. So whenever you have a project that you're working on and you want to change the color of, let's say, characters that are on a mountain range that are in a different layer than the mountain range, so that, let's say they're on the green screen, you get rid of the green screen and you have the mountain showing through, but you want to add a color tint to it so that everything's kind of a purplish color, that is a great candidate for using an adjustment layer. So hopefully that makes sense, and experiment. Add as many as you want to, and don't forget this, click and drag and see what happens, and all kinds of combinations that you can come up with.